And when you talk about a hybrid data center, I'm going to get into exactly what we call a hybrid data center. But you know, you have everything from conventional to converged infrastructure, on-premise, off-premise, cloud solutions. And as you saw on the last slide, application placement is very important, understanding what fits where. So this is an example right here of actually part of a consulting engagement that we did for a client who had a few, you know, a few things, a few applications or application groups that he felt like, that they felt like may be ready to go into a converged infrastructure or maybe even into a service provider offering. And so one of the things that the Foresight can do is help you determine for a specific application, where does that application make sense? Or where does it make sense to put that application? Does it make sense to put it on-premise in a converged infrastructure? Would a cloud like front end make sense? Or is it really a candidate for an off-premise cloud, and that would be the best situation? This is an important exercise to do, whether you do it with Foresight or not. This is an important exercise to do before you decide, you know, I think I'm going to buy a converged infrastructure. I think I'm going to buy into cloud. Next slide. So when we say a hybrid data center, this is what we mean. Is that you know, there are pieces of your environment that are you know, legacy enterprise type applications that you really are not going to move to something like a converged infrastructure and will not make sense in a cloud. Although there may be long-term plans to move off of something like that into something else that maybe is a little more amenable to some of those solutions, there might not be. And so, as you can see, some things may make sense for co-location because of your data center strategy. You know, you may want to look into some managed hosting because of staff concerns in different areas. You may want to look at a converged infrastructure or some type of cloud solution. And what we've seen is that our clients are not putting everything in one of these baskets. They have things in their environment that fit well in these different areas. So, you know, when we say a hybrid data center, this is what we mean. Next slide. Now, when we say converged infrastructure, this is what we mean. So, you know, we're fairly specific around this. As you can see, we want one platform or product. If it's a single product, then it's a converged infrastructure. If you're taking pieces and parts of things and just kind of pulling them together as best you can, and maybe using that against a you know, a best practices guide or something, that we've already been doing that for quite a while. That's not something new. These are pre-engineered, they're pre-validated, and they already have you know, physical and logical integration. That, you know, the roadmaps are aligned, right? When they're doing roadmap planning, they're aligned. They've already done, the vendor or whoever's selling this solution has already done the interoperability testing, right? Changes to the environment, upgrades to the environment are managed and encompass the entire, all the pieces of the product. So, you know, there's no need for the customer to look at this and say, well, it looks like I need to make a change in one piece of my environment. So now I have to figure out what that affects in all the different things. My operating system on my disk array needs an upgrade, you know, based on what IBM is saying. So now I've got to figure out, you know, my Fabric OS and my drivers and you know, what about patches on my systems and all that kind of stuff. That is treated as an entire product, and so those upgrades and those changes are product-wide. There should be a low effort for installation, meaning that, you know, if you call it one product, but then it comes in, you know, 1,000 boxes, and you have to kind of assemble it yourself. That's, you know, talking about. And there's also unified or simplified support, meaning that I have one place that's handling my calls. This doesn't mean that there's a separate organization that now can address all service and support needs for this type of product. So you still will have a support organization that's very focused on, say, power, or or storage. But still, there's one place that understands what that converged infrastructure is, what the components are, how they work together, and can do at least level 1, maybe even a little bit of level 2, and handle also call routing and handling, and so that you're not calling individual, lines of support. So next slide. Okay, so this is a conceptual drawing. Not everyone will see the little lines of bullets and figure it out in their head or paint a picture in their head. So I painted a picture for you. This is typically, when you look on the right side, you have the green area, right? So that's typically what's covered in converged infrastructures, right? And there's been some adoption of VDI into a converged infrastructure in terms of that, having that unified support model. And what we're finding is that vendors like IBM are starting to create these these stacks, right? And so platform patterns of expertise, for example, that go across this stack, but include a product that is encompassing all those things: hypervisor, server, storage, and network. So you can see I put orchestration, automation, that layer on the side, and the reason is that although a lot of times vendors will say, well, this is your management and orchestration layer, that they tend to want to use those together. True orchestration and automation oftentimes encompasses a little more than just that management layer. So although there is a management layer that's usually included in the converged infrastructure, it's typically not as robust as orchestration automation tools if you go out and look at that product set. So I put it on the side there for a reason. And as you can see, there's a big difference between that and what's on the left-hand side. On the left-hand side, the not converged area, which is pretty much everything else, reference architecture and everything else. You can see there's everything has to be managed separately. These are all little separate products, and you have to address them separately and work out interoperability and support and all those things separately. So it's a very different model. Go ahead with the next slide, Jackie. Okay, so this is some of the reasons you might want to consider a converged infrastructure. Once again, the fact that it's pre-configured. So as you can see, the results there: time to market, faster time to market, and you will see this when something comes on site, not in 50 boxes, but in a single rack, already ready. So especially when you can do basic logical configuration, meaning that you have some of the stuff pre-configured for you. So so as long as you're filling out your doing your homework ahead of time, and you're filling out your config guides and things before it comes on site, so that so you can take it from that point on. The point is that all of that racking and stacking and burning in, finding DOA parts and replacing them and all that stuff is all gone. That's already been done. And so, when you get it on site, that time to market shrinks. The other thing is that it's pre-tested for interoperability and performance, and what that means is, is that you're not going to have to figure out, once you have the hardware on site, okay, now that I'm loading all this, how do I load it so that I make sure everything is working together? And there's going to be specific things I have to put in place. You already have templates for that. You already have patterns for that. So it's a lot easier. That's improving your time to market. So the unified support and the bundled systems upgrade, you know, that reduces your risk of downtime and performance issues. All this stuff has been tested ahead of time together. They know exactly, how to support it, and they know how it's going to scale as well. So as you scale your capacity, you're also scaling your performance. You don't run out of either one of those. So, all right, and then the operational complexity and effort, that's basically having a single tool that will manage that. Once again, treating this as a product, not not a list of best practices. So if it's a single product, you have a single tool to manage this environment. So okay, you can click on this one. All right, so you can see this is this is IBM's way of basically saying what I just said in terms of what's the difference between doing what I do already, right? And maybe using a list of best practices to do that, but still doing what I'm doing already, and using something like Pure Systems that's already, it's created already for you. It's already pre-engineered, pre-validated, pre-tested, and with single support. So I will turn it over to you.